No big changes through the weekend, and then a slightly better rain chance Monday afternoon as a cold front approaches from the west. John?
Trial Tuesday once again, and today we're talking about local jails and the issues that come along with them. Things like overcrowding, understaffing, and security problems. Attorney, entrepreneur, and koozie enthusiast David Aylor here with much more. Counselor, welcome back to the show. There's a specific example right now. We're talking about up in Berkeley County, a brand new state-of-the-art jail that really isn't being utilized in the way that it really should.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not using a couple different floors of the jail. They took the original jail and put a lot of money, millions of dollars, in renovating it and adding on to it. The issue is now, though, they're not able to actually go ahead and fund the staff that is needed for the inmates to be able to spread out throughout the facility, so they have an overcrowding issue. So you literally have multiple floors of this state-of-the-art facility that are just being totally unused.
Wow, underutilized indeed. Now, if you are unfortunate enough to be booked in one of these jails, a host of legal problems also come up. Things like you said, not enough staff on there, and that can lead to more problems between inmates.
Right, and security is always going to be an issue with the jail. And there's going to be a certain amount of inmates that are going to be in a certain area and then with that, of course, there has to be a certain amount of guards, and that's where you really run into the problems, because clearly you're having a larger amount, particularly certain times in jails on weekends, things like that, of individuals that are put into the jail as opposed to the actual amount of guards that they have staffed. So then you run into things where they end up having to do a lot of overtime,
right.
And then the money gets spent anyway. In
your line of work, obviously you come into a lot of people that might get booked into these prisons, jails, facilities once in a while. There are also legal issues in the sense that can guards take away rights, like those canteen rights, also rights to a little bit of personal property, say Bibles, things like that? And do you see a lot of that come across when you're representing a client?
Well, absolutely. You have different privileges within each facility and in different sections where you're housed, and those things can change due to different violations you may have. Sometimes you have folks that are involved in things like the treatment centers and things that they have in there. Then if they're later caught with some sort of substance, you can also, of course, be criminally charged for activities in there, which often happens due to fighting, different things like that. So there's a number of different issues that can occur within sort of what is a community in and of itself.
You know, one of the most shocking things is the amount of cell phones that we find in jails all the time. We've seen pictures of just trays and trays of these cell phones that are smuggled into prison. Now, you can get in trouble as well if you're on the outside and you're trying to get something into one of those inmates. You can face legal charges yourself.
You see that often at prisons. Jails not as much because people's time there is shorter. However, they do come into the jails as well. A lot of times within the jails, things like things will be snuck in from their initial time when they're getting booked in that maybe somebody didn't catch. But yeah, I mean, everything from cell phones to drugs to weapons, things like that, they do get involved sometimes. And the guards do a really good job at the different facilities trying to track that, but there's only so much you can do ultimately. So you have to make sure that, if in fact you have an individual there, the best thing that anybody can do is try to bond that person out.
Sure.
Sometimes that's financially not feasible, but if it is, getting a bondsman, going through that local bondsman, there's bondsmen all over, to really move on and start dealing with the charges and try to get back to normal life.
When you're first arrested and taken to that local jail, what are some of the things that you need to do right away, aside from getting that bond? Do you get that one phone call like we see in the movies, or they let you keep trying?
They'll let you keep trying, actually. You can get a number of phone calls and try to get in contact with people. The ironic part that happens nonstop is most people nowadays have cell phones, all the numbers are plugged in, so they legitimately don't remember and have anybody's number.
Right.
So it's always important to obviously keep a couple of numbers. Sometimes people have to call people they'd rather not call simply because it's the only number they have. So it's very important to make sure you have contact numbers, and then from there really start to look into figuring out how you're going to bail out, whether it be on your own recognizance, if that was what you were issued, or if you need to use a bondsman. There's a lot of good bondsmen. You will have to spend some money that way, but it's a lot better position to be in, spending some money and being on the outside as opposed to still staying in.
Great advice right there, Attorney David Aylor. Thank you for your time, sir. Do appreciate it as always.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're back with more Low Country Live right after this break.